The UFC returns from an off week and comes back with a pay-per-view offering here with 2 5-round fights headlining this UFC 302 card. In the main event, we got Islam Makhachev looking to defend his lightweight title for the third time, but probably the first time against a lightweight, as he takes on Dustin the Diamond Poirier, who is more than likely getting his last shot at gold here, as he has already stated that he'll likely retire if he's unable to get his hand raised this weekend. And then in the co-main event, we got a high-stakes middleweight matchup between former champion Sean Strickland, who just lost his title back in January, as he takes on Paulo Costa, who's looking to rebound from a February loss to Robert Whittaker. Great card all around going down in Newark, New Jersey this weekend. There's also ACA going down on Friday morning. If you're looking for breakdowns for that, I have that covered on the Lock of the Night Patreon page. A reminder, this is the quick picks version of the UFC 302 breakdown. If you're looking for in-depth breakdowns for this card, I drop those on Mondays of fight week, so you can either hit the link in the description below or click the banner that's just right above me if you're watching this on YouTube for the full MMA Lawcast episode, where I go just about an hour breaking down this entire card. Otherwise, strap in for quick picks here where I get right to the point of every single matchup. Some may need some more reasoning. That's why I suggest checking out the full episode as well that I dropped earlier this week. All right, I hope you're laced up and ready to go, because we're off and running with the first fight of the night between Andre Lima and Mitch Raposo. Raposo coming in on short notice here as his UFC debut, and he's a guy that's already failed a couple times in terms of making it to the UFC, whether it's through the Contender Series or the Ultimate Fighter. But I believe that this is a perfect stylistic matchup for him to get into the UFC on a W, as I believe his grinding wrestling approach and higher activity, pace, and cardio will end up being too much for Lima. Lima is clearly the better striker here, but if he's going up against a guy that's going to dictate the pace that which Raposo will be doing, I think we'll see Lima start to fall behind and end up getting grinded out as Raposo wins this fight by decision. Next up, we got Eileen Perez going up against Jocelyn Edwards in a grudge match of sorts, as these two women actually had an out-of-cage altercation late last year, which has ultimately lined them up in this matchup here. I do believe it's going to be Perez's grapple-heavy approach, which will allow her to go out there and grind out Jocelyn Edwards, who is too comfortable playing off of her back and is just not that great in terms of securing submissions off of her back either. And I expect the out-muscling style of Eileen Perez to come through in this spot to go out there and win this fight by decision. Next up, we got Mickey Gall going up against Basil Hafez. Hafez had a solid debut against Jack Della Maddalena in a short notice spot, and he outperformed his price tag that night, even though he ended up losing on the scorecards there. But I do believe he is a very bad matchup for Mickey Gall, who is also a BJJ specialist. But I believe Hafez's strength, wrestling, and power striking advantage will allow him to really put it on Mickey Gall here and eventually open up a finishing opportunity for him. At minus 400 might be a little bit too wide for some people, but I do think that this is a spot that Hafez will showcase that he is the better mixed martial artist. Next up, we got Nico Price going up against Alex Morono in a fight that is a rematch of a fight that took place back in 2017. That night, Morono was winning about 8.5 minutes until Nico Price landed a big shot that put Morono on skates and put him out cold. I believe Morono will dust up on those mistakes and showcase that he has a high fight IQ and is very intelligent with how he actually competes. And I expect him to go out there and really put it on Nico Price and eventually knock him out by the second or third round. Next up, we got Phil Rowe going up against Jake Matthews. I do like Rowe's ability to maintain distance, utilize his 4-inch height and 7-inch reach advantage in this matchup, and I think he'll be able to keep Jake Matthews at bay by utilizing his shots down the pipe, his kicks up the middle, and then eventually finding that kill shot in the second or third round. Next up, we got Grant Dawson going up against Joe Solecki in a fight that could be a grappler's delight. However, Joe Solecki does not offer too much off of his back, which leads me to believe that Dawson should have no issue grinding this matchup out, utilizing his wrestling advantage and his scrambling advantage, which should keep Joe Solecki in bad spots throughout this matchup. And I think we'll see Dawson go out there and grind this out over 15 minutes to get his hand raised on the scorecards. Next up, we got Cesar Almeida going up against Roman Kopylov, which should be a striker's delight, but I do think it is Almeida who is the superior striker in this matchup. You're talking about a guy that has over 40 kickboxing wins on his record and has showcased how dangerous he really can be when he can get comfortable at range. And even if Kopylov looks to take a grapple-heavy approach, which he is not really known to do, I think we've seen good enough improvements from the defensive grappling side of Almeida to be able to keep this fight upright and look for Almeida to chip away at Kopylov Kopylov as Kopylov starts to slow down, and we'll see Almeida get the knockout in round 2 or round 3. Next up, we got Randy Brown going up against Zaleski. A very solid fight here between two strikers who usually take two separate approaches to get their wins. Randy Brown is a little bit more of a technical striker, utilizing his length and reach and popping opponents down the middle, whereas Zaleski normally likes to utilize a little bit more of a flashier style with his capoeira kicks and his spinning techniques. And at 37 years old, I do think he is starting to slow down a tad here, and I think we're going to see that on display as he takes on Randy Brown, who should be able to put together a little bit more of a patient and disciplined striking performance, and I think he'll frustrate Zaleski at distance and ultimately win this fight on the scorecards. Next up, we got Jailton Almeida going up against Alexander Romanov as Almeida looks to rebound from his first UFC loss at the hands of Curtis Blades. I think we'll see Almeida really wear on Romanov here, and he might struggle to get the big man down early, but as this fight starts to get into second and third rounds, I think we'll see Almeida be successful in terms of landing that takedown and then eventually smothering Romanov from on top and possibly even finding a finish. Next up, we got Kevin Holland going up against Michal Oleksiejczuk. Kevin Holland looking to rebound from his loss to Michael Page earlier this year, and I think that this is a great stylistic matchup for him to implement his sniper striking style against the pressure style of Oleksiejczuk. Is the line a little bit too wide here at minus 260, minus 280? I think so, which is why I'll probably pass on it as a whole, but I do think that Holland style will allow him to go out there and really snipe Oleksiejczuk, who gets a little bit too reckless as he continues to press forward and crash the pocket. Oleksiejczuk could have some success in this spot, which is why I said the minus 260 is a little bit too wide, but I think that Holland style will eventually lead to him hurting Oleksiejczuk badly and getting him out of there. Co-main event time here as we got Sean Strickland going up against Paulo Costa. I do think that this could be a bad stylistic matchup for Strickland as he goes up against another power puncher, guys who have normally been able to get Sean Strickland out of there or at least win on the scorecards. Strickland normally implements a pressure-heavy style, staying in his opponent's face and utilizing a ton of volume to hurt them, break them, or at least win on the scorecards. However, Paulo Costa will oblige with a pocket exchange, and I think that will allow him to continuously land big shots that will either hurt, finish, or damage Strickland very badly, and that could play in Paulo Costa's favor should this fight hit the scorecards. But I do think that Paulo Costa eventually lands a big knockout blow as Strickland gets a little bit too cocky in that pocket exchange, and that will allow Costa just slip a shot, land a big shot, and eventually put Strickland out here. So give me Costa and Costa by knockout. Main event time, lightweight title on the line. We got Islam Makhachev going up against Dustin Poirier. I think we've seen Poirier go up against a similar archetype of Makhachev, and it has not fared too well for Poirier in the past. I expect Makhachev to do work a little bit in the striking realm, then eventually get that wrestling going, and then from there I think he's going to be able to break Dustin Poirier and eventually open up a submission opportunity. I'm going to say round 2 submission and still Islam Makhachev. There you guys go. Quick picks for UFC 302. If you didn't agree with any of those, I plead you to check out the full breakdown that I did earlier this week, or just drop a comment below and let me know what you guys are thinking as well. Reminder, we got ACA on Friday mornings here if you're looking for breakdowns for that. I have quick picks and track plays on my Lock of the Night Patreon page, which you can find in the link in the description below. Otherwise, I will see you guys tomorrow for the Locky 2-Step / Locky Trinity free parlay and the 3 best prop bets for UFC 302. See you guys then. Peace.